Thank you, Norma. For announcements this morning, I'm not sure that there are a great many. Um, we did receive, and you'll love to hear this, the Western Yearly Meeting Minute Book is out. If you did not receive a copy and would like one, please send Lynn an email message and she will send you one. We have extra copies. We also have some copies of Fruit of the Vine if you don't receive that at home. So,
I send those out regularly.
but it's, the minutes, they're pretty exciting. There's all the financial reports and all that sort of stuff. There's a synopsis of the Quaker lecture, which is better than the lecture. So if I could have said all that in less than half an hour, I should have, it looks like. So it was, but it is a handy reference if you want to contact people around the yearly meeting and see all the various projects, et cetera. So if you'd like a copy, please let Lynn know. Joys and concerns to share this morning.
How is Grandma Artie?
Well, she passed away on Friday evening, and Troy and I were with her.
102.
102.
Well, there were some joys celebrated in the yearly meeting weekly newsletter that some folks know, these people. Marilyn Bell and Phyllis Paulson are both 91 recently. So, and both are still, they don't get out and about, but still very active. And as a matter of fact, at our Christmas gathering a few weeks ago, when the musicians were here, Andy Gaston walked up and said, "Marilyn Bell said to tell you hi, Brent." So she's still very much with it.
She and Phyllis both are very much with it intellectually.
So for a joy, we had the joy of Chip over, as always. But yesterday was a gathering with our daughter Lisa's family. It was the first in Lisa's new house after her husband passed away a year and a half ago. And all her kids and all their kids were there. She had reindeer games or all kinds of things to play. Nancy had a pretty much good time. She sat in a big chair and was queen for the day as all the little kids came around and fussed over her and wanted to see Gigi, as they call her. But today she is completely sacked out on the sofa.
Well, I can report that my octogenarian is recovering very well from his hip surgery. He's on his exercise bike even as we speak.
Yay.
Well, I had a joy. Drake informed me Thursday that was his last day of school, and he said, "Oh, Papa Chippy, I need you to take me Christmas shopping." And I'm like, well, nothing like wait until the last minute. But his dad stepped up and took him, and I didn't have to.
Well, much to be thankful for and prayerful about in this season. And so let's hold those things in the light as we move through our worship today. My inspiration for inviting you all to participate, I have to admit, you probably think it was so I could get out of speaking or anything. It wasn't so much that. But the tradition in our Friends meeting growing up, which was a large evangelical Friends meeting, was we always had a Christmas presentation by all the youth. It was often on a Sunday evening. But we all were required to memorize pieces, they were called. I don't know why they came up with that name, but we all had a piece typed out on a piece of paper, and except for the littlest kids, but they would go through the whole progression, the nursery, the preschool, the primary department, the junior department, junior high, high school. We'd all troop up to one of those big old microphones, that looked like something Edward Murrow would broadcast into, and they'd be raising it up and down. And I don't remember many of the pieces. The only one I remember is one that Kenny Brown gave, and that's because when he walked up, and I think we were in the fourth grade, he walked up to the microphone and he couldn't remember his piece. So instead he just goes, "When I grow up, I'm going to be a cowboy." And you just see his parents melt. My dad just cracked up. But if you, our congregation was really large back then. It was about 300 or so. And if you would read some of those early programs, you would even recognize some names of folks who went on to be pastors, even in Western Yearly Meeting. So it was quite the thing. So I thought I had good memories of those things, and it was good to hear all the voices of everybody. And we have such great voices in this meeting with so much wisdom that I thought it would be fun for us to do that, and inspirational as well. And I will open with my Christmas piece. Mine, and I asked Norma to play "O Little Town of Bethlehem." Phillips Brooks wrote that in the 19th century while he was on a trip to the Holy Land. And Bethlehem was laying still. There was no war-torn country then. There were not the conflicts that we have today. And yesterday on the morning news, I saw a report from the Church of the Nativity that there are no services at the Church of the Nativity in Bethlehem this year because of the Hamas-Israeli Defense Forces war that's going on. And I was reminded at that time by a song by some friends of mine. They're Linford and Karen, who are in a group called Over the Rhine out of Cincinnati. And they wrote a song called Bethlehem, and it's sung to a variation of the theme on "O Little Town of Bethlehem." And these are the lyrics. "O little town of Bethlehem, have ye been forsaken in your dark and dreamless sleep? In your wounded sky, the silent stars go by. O little town of Bethlehem, be still tonight, be still. Mary, she was just a kid. Jesus was a refugee, a virgin and a vagabond yearning to be free. Now in the dark street shining is their last chance of a dream. O little town of Bethlehem, be still tonight, be still. Cradled by a crescent moon, born under a star, sometimes there's no difference between a birthmark and a scar. O little town of Bethlehem, with your sky so black, may God impart to human hearts the wisdom that we lack. Should you chance to find a hope for all mankind. O little town of Bethlehem, be still tonight, be still, be still, be still, be still tonight. So I invite you now to share as you feel led. And if you're on Zoom, please just unmute and, when it's time to share. And we will receive all offerings with gladness.
Well, I want to share a song that is not as familiar as some of the other Christmas music that we normally hear in all genres and have sung many times at church services. This one, growing up as a child on a farm, it speaks to me a little differently maybe than people who have a different background, but it's The Friendly Beast. And so I want to share the verses out of that. Jesus, our brother, strong and good, was humbly born in a stable rude, and the friendly beast around him stood. Jesus, our brother, strong and good. I said the donkey, shaggy and brown, I carried his mother up hill and down. I carried her safely to Bethlehem town. I said the donkey, shaggy and brown. I said the cow, all white and red. Dave, I'm sorry, it was not a Holstein. I think it probably was a shorthorn. And I particularly like shorthorns because that's what I showed at the fair. I gave him my manger for his bed. I gave him my hay to pillow his head. I said the cow, all white and red. I said the sheep with the curly horn. I gave him my wool for a blanket warm. He wore my coat on Christmas morn. I said the sheep with the curly horn. I said the dove from the rafters high. I cooed him to sleep that he should not cry. We cooed him to sleep, my mate and I. I said the dove from the rafters high. Thus all the beasts by some good spell in the stable dark were glad to tell of gifts they gave Emmanuel. The gifts they gave Emmanuel. And I think I particularly like this Christmas hymn. Yes, because of the animals, but because they all contributed to a common cause of giving comfort or offering something to the baby Jesus. And I think that's an important piece for all of us to know, that we each have something that we can contribute. It doesn't have to be big and expansive or expensive. It's just something from each of us, from our hearts.
A couple of weeks ago, Steve and I were watching the Country Music Association Christmas program that was hosted by Trisha Yearwood and Amy Grant. And Amy sang a song that I'd never heard before, and I really liked it. So I looked up the words online and found out it's written by Kelly Clarkson, another well-known country musician. It's called My Grown-Up Christmas List. Do you remember me? I sat on your knee. I wrote to you with childhood fantasies. Well, I'm all grown up now. Can you still help somehow? I'm not a child, but my heart still can dream. So here's my lifelong wish, my grown-up Christmas list. Not for myself, but for a world in need. No more lives torn apart, that wars would never start. And time would heal all hearts. Everyone would have a friend, that right would always win, and love would never end. This is my grown-up Christmas list. What is this illusion called the innocence of youth? Maybe only in our blind belief can we ever find the truth. There'd be no more lives torn apart, that wars would never start, and time would heal all hearts. Everyone would have a friend, that right would always win, and love would never end. This is my grown-up Christmas list. This is my only lifelong wish. This is my grown-up Christmas list.
Well, one of my favorite Christmas memories is when I was asked to play Santa Claus at the Mooresville Library. And so that summer, I can't believe somebody's calling me. That summer, I grew my beard long, and then that right before I had to go be Santa, I went down to the library to get my instructions. And I was standing there waiting to talk to the lady at the desk, and this cute little boy comes up to me, and he looks at me and it says, "I've been good." And I didn't even have my outfit on yet. And I said, "Yes, I know you have." Well, he and his mother left, and I said, "What's his name?" So when he came to see me, I said, "Oh, Billy, I'm so glad to see you. You have been a good boy. Come here and tell me what you want for Christmas." It was great. It was just great. Well, also, Troy bought Drake, who was about 3, in to sit on my lap. And Drake was scared to death. And he sat on my lap, and I said, Are you afraid of me? And he goes, and I said, "Well, you shouldn't. I know your dad. And I even know your Papa Chippy." And he looked at me and he goes, "You are my Papa Chippy." He told me what he wanted, and then he goes out and he tells these elves, he goes, "My Papa's Santa Claus." So I had to explain later that I just filled in for Santa when he was busy. I wasn't the real Santa Claus.
was wondering, Chip, if you've always been that scary.
Did I what?
If you've always been that scary. Normally, it could have been Ayrshire. There are Ayrshires in the Barnett family. I think my thought or memory would be to go back to childhood when Christmas was a special day, as it is to, I think, most all children. And it seemed like life was much simpler then than it is today, with everything that's going on around us and outside of our country. But maybe it was just simplicity of childhood and the innocence, because our fathers had just come back from the service. All my uncles were either in military service before, during, or after the war, or all three, except Uncle Bob, who was in alternative service. So there were all kinds of issues back in the 40s, 50s, and 60s as well. The thing that I remember so much about it is that I didn't know we were poor until I was somewhere between 30 and 50, I guess, because we always had acres and we hunted and we had cows and pigs and horses for a while. Now Dad hired a couple of guys from Kentucky to work for him, and they couldn't operate machinery, so he bought them a team of horses and manure spreader and so forth. That lasted about 2 weeks. Horses were 2-year-olds and a little spunky, and they kind of ran off with them, and Dad checked the next morning why the people didn't show up at work, and the tenant house was empty and they were gone. So that was not comparative to Norma's mules. So, at any rate, Christmas was always special because we got everything we needed for Christmas. We'd get 3 pair of socks, 3 pair of blue jeans, and 3 pair of underwear. And that was always, we could count on that. One year we got a train. We didn't know exactly how that showed up, but we got a train around the Christmas tree. I don't know what the girls got, if they were getting underwear. We probably weren't supposed to know about it. So at any rate, it was always a happy time, but always associated with Christmas. Went to church every West Newton Friends, almost always, all year long. But at Christmas time, Dad got up, got the milking done earlier, and came on in, and we all went together. I think those values and attitudes, even though we all, including all of us, have scattered over the years, this group of us have come together again. About 5 or 6 of us have come, and one of us has come back from all kinds of strange places in the country, like Baltimore and California and so forth, and Florida. We've come back because of some values, I think, that we learned there. And even our newest member said he ran into a couple, I think, in Kentucky that had an impression on him, and wondered if they were related to the Millses up here. And that would have been Bob and Carol. So I think even the Dorrells, who were Methodists back in those days, Dale, kind of wandered across the street. But I think they're a fine set of values that we've all learned, and somehow if we could get those out, we could get more Jonathans in.
But anyway, Brent suggested a song, and I decided I wasn't even going to try to do that. I don't know if you can even hear me just talk, but I thought I would share a poem on pondering. What brings us back to this manger scene over and over again, year after year, century after century? Why do we return to a tale 2,000 years old? To this simple story, to this profound story. What draws us back to Bethlehem? This small town in a semi-arid land of poverty and oppression. Baby boy, born to a displaced couple. What is it about this story of humble birth, of mystified local peasant shepherds, vigilant seers from distant lands, of a cruel king and heavenly being that has made the focus of thousands of songs and stories in varied lands and languages? What draws us back to this stable? Is it the earthy smell of hay or the heavenly symbol of a star? Are we drawn by the emotions evoked by a newborn baby? The simple obedience of his parents? Or the steadfast faithfulness of an aging priest? Perhaps this story so reflects our humanity. From Herod's twisted desperation for control to Joseph's silent resolve of obedience to God. From the shepherd's fear of the unknown and awe of the mysterious, to the Magi's longing search for understanding, Mary's pondering of a child's life, of her child's life, and all that means of future and hope. What brings us back to the Nativity? It's a reflection of who we are. It's a reminder of who God is, redemption, of reconciliation, of resolution, of God who loves us with infinite love, meets us here in Christmas.
So pretty much every weekday I have a reading and I pray and meditate with some Quaker friends of mine in the morning. And so I look back at my Christmas readings over the last few years and thought this might be good. I'm not going to read the whole thing. It's a bit long. But this is a selection from a poem called Amazing Peace by Maya Angelou. Into this climate of fear and apprehension, Christmas enters. Streaming lights of joy, ringing bells of hope, and singing carols of forgiveness high up in the bright air. The world is encouraged to come away from rancor, come the way of friendship. It is the glad season. Thunder ebbs to silence and lightning sleeps quietly in the corner. Floodwaters recede into memory. Snow becomes a yielding cushion to aid us as we find our way to higher ground. Hope is born again in the faces of children. It rides on the shoulders of our aged as they walk into their sunsets. Hope spreads around the earth, brightening all things, even hate, which crouches, breeding in dark corners. In our joy, we think we hear a whisper. At first, it is too soft, then only half heard. We listen carefully as it gathers strength. We hear a sweetness. The word is peace. It is loud now. It is louder, louder than the explosion of bombs. We tremble at the sound. We are thrilled by its presence. It is what we have hungered for. Not just the absence of war, but true peace, a harmony of spirit, a comfort of courtesies, security for our beloveds and their beloveds. We clap our hands and welcome the peace of Christmas. We beckon this good season to wait a while with us. We, Baptist and Buddhist, Methodist and Muslim, say, come peace. Come and fill us and our world with your majesty. We, the Jew and the Jainist, the Catholic and the Confucian, implore you, stay with us a while, so we may learn by your shimmering light how to look beyond complexion and seek community.
you realize that everybody at this table talked about a song, a hymn, except me. And I was informed Friday that if I got up and started doing my rendition of All I Want for Christmas of You, Brent was going to turn off the sound.
Well, as we close, I want to close with a poem by Madeline L'Engle. It's called Into the Darkest Hour. It was a time like this, war and tumult of war, a horror in the air. Hungry yawned the abyss, and yet there came the star and the child most wonderfully there. It was a time like this of fear and lust for power, license and greed and blight. And yet the Prince of Bliss came into our darkest hour in quiet and silent not light. And in a time like this, how celebrate his birth when all things fall apart? Ah, wonderful it is with no room on the earth, the stable is our hearts. Well, may the peace of this season be with us all, the peace of Christ in our hearts, the light of God in this world. Amen. Christmas blessings.
Bye.
Merry
Merry
Christmas, everybody.
everybody.
Merry
Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
You've seen the picture on Facebook, I presume.
Until we meet again.
The creche